Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO DPC Technology. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite free digital signage programs. So here at DPC, we use several different digital signage programs. If you have TVs out in the waiting room or out in an office area and you want to send specific content to them, a digital signage program is a really nice thing to have. You can get them as a piece of hardware that you put back in the server closet. You can get them so that they're built into the TVs that you buy. But this is an option that takes any TV and just puts a really simple, inexpensive piece of computer hardware called a Raspberry Pi behind it. These are $100-ish. And you can put this behind the TV. It connects wirelessly and will broadcast stuff directly from the cloud through Raspberry Pi or through piSignage's software. The cool thing about it is it's a really simple setup in the cloud, and you get 2 free Raspberry Pi licenses with piSignage. So you get to use it on 2 TVs free of charge, which is great for most offices that we do. That fits right in the bill. And then as you scale, let's just say you had 10 locations and you wanted to be able to control the content at 10 locations. The cloud is a really great way to distribute that content across all those locations with one click of the button. And the per user, the per TV additional pricing is really quite fair. And we'll go into that in more detail when we start to set them up. The advantage of the system, again, is really inexpensive hardware. You can use it on any television. Really inexpensive Raspberry Pi, the thing that makes it all work, and a free license for up to 2 users, which is really nice. There are some cons of the system. It is a little bit more techy. It's a little bit more cumbersome to use. So setup, it takes a little bit longer. And getting to understand the way the system works is a little bit more complex. But for somebody that just wants to put some easy content to the television, meaning rolling some YouTube videos, displaying a web page, making some banners and some notice updates, this is a really simple way to do that and do it well and make it look really nice. So anyways, we're gonna set up an additional TV here at the office. I have a Raspberry Pi kit here. This is a full kit, comes from Amazon. I think it's a little bit under $100, or right at $100. Super easy to do. It is a little bit techy, so we're gonna walk you through it step by step. And we'll get another TV up and running here at DPC. For now, let's get into unboxing the Raspberry Pi and getting this set up so that we can show you a little bit more about the system. Okay, so here's our kit. It comes straight from Amazon. Pretty easy. What's in the kit? You get a couple of cards, don't need the cards. There's a little fan. I don't think we're gonna need the fan. If you were gonna put this in a spot where it was gonna get really hot, we might use the fan. Get an HDMI cable to mini HDMI. This is important, we need that. We get a little, I think this is, what is this? Oh, this is our SD card. We're gonna need that. The case. This is the Raspberry Pi Model B itself. This is a couple of heat sinks. We probably use those heat sinks to cool the chip. And then we've got the power cable. Got this SD card reader. Got a mini HDMI to, it's USB-C to USB-C? I don't know. Whatever that's for. And then a guide, which we'll never use. So, together. We basically have the Raspberry Pi itself, the cable, the case, we've got the card, the reader, and we've got the HDMI cable. Really quickly show you what the Raspberry Pi looks like itself. This is Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, 4 gigs of RAM. Don't fight me. It's gonna fight me. Yeah. There you go. It's a really simple little computer in a box. So we're gonna go ahead and put these heat shields on real quick. And basically, when we put these things behind everything, it can get hot. So we are also gonna be running video, which isn't very difficult for this, but we don't want it to overheat or to reset. So these heat sinks just kind of make that not be an issue. So I'm just gonna take it right. This in here. All right, there we got our heat sinks all done on it. I'm gonna open up the case. Now you also could do this without the case at all. Sometimes the case is actually more bulky behind the television sets, and so you don't want to put it in its case. We typically do, just in case it gets beat or battered or anything. It does make it a little bit more secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and through the magic television, put this case on, and you pop back in with the case done. All right, there you have it. It's in the case, it's ready to go. You can see they have a Cat 5 jack in there. We're gonna hook it up to Cat 5 in the beginning to get it set up. It's got 2 USB-Cs and 2 regular USBs. It's got 2 HDMI, mini HDMI out. It's got USB-C for power, and it's got a headphones jack. And this is where you put the SD card. So we'll go ahead and put that SD card open and put in there. All right, we got our SD card loaded, and we are ready to go. Okay. All right, so now we're all set up. I'm gonna show you how we can take the card, get the software installed, and hook this up via Cat 5, get the wireless set up so that we can install it wirelessly on the system. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll jump over into the software. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in Cat 5 into our switch, and I'll show you what it looks like once we have this plugged in and able to access it through the software. So with that, let's jump over to the software. All right, so we're gonna jump on over to the computer now, and we're gonna go to piSignage.com. You're gonna get a web page that looks like this. You're gonna go on up to downloads. You click downloads, and we're gonna scroll down a little bit. It's gonna give us some instructions here. I've already done it so that I can show you. We're doing a Raspberry Pi 4, so I'm gonna click on the G drive link for 2.7.1, which is the latest version as of today. We'll go ahead and click download. I've already downloaded, you can see it down here. And then one other thing you're gonna wanna get from that page is the image writer. So you'll see you'll have one for Mac, for Linux, and for Windows. I did the Win2 32 disk imager. Go ahead and download that. That'll put it down there. I'm gonna go ahead and run that. So I'm gonna run it as administrator. I'm gonna go accept. Create a desktop shortcut. And I'm gonna launch Imager. It's gonna look for that image file. I'm gonna go here. It's in my downloads folder. Okay, so I put that to a file on the desktop in a folder called piSignage. We'll go ahead and highlight that. And we're gonna go okay. And hash da-da-da. And we're gonna go ahead and go right. Do we wanna continue? We do. It's going to the F drive, which is that little USB adapter to micro SD that came with the kit. Again, this one's gonna write for a few minutes, and I'll just kind of check back here when it's done. All right, that's all we needed to do there. Really simple. It took maybe 5 minutes to get all that done. Now we can go ahead and pop that key out of the computer, and we can throw it in the Raspberry Pi and fire up the Raspberry Pi. So let's go ahead and get that done, and we will get it signed up on the web so that it can connect to the cloud, and we can put it behind the TV and configure it. So as you can see, we've come to the workbench here, and I'm gonna fire this up on a test computer bed where I've got a Cat 5 cable and a monitor just to see the system booting and to set it up initially. Basically, we're gonna fire it up, and we're going to get to the boot screen, and it's going to show us all the information that we need to put into the cloud portal to register this device for piSignage. So that's as simple as that. And we're going to go ahead, and once we're done here, we'll set it up for Wi-Fi, but that's all there is to the physical part of it. Now we're going to switch back over into the cloud. All right, so now that we have that up and running on the bench, we're going to go ahead and log into our account and set that up. But before we do that, I'm just going to quickly go through pricing. So past the first two free, the first two Raspberry Pis that you put on piSignage are free. Beyond that, you have to pay a $25 licensing fee, which is a one-time fee for each machine that you add. And then it's $20 a year per Raspberry Pi that you add to piSignage. So if you had 2 machines, you'd pay 25 times 2 for those 2 machines beyond the first 2. That'd be $50. And then you'd be paying $40 a year, which I think is a pretty fair price for what you get out of the system. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, if you click on sign up, it will bring you to a real quick page to enter some of your user ID, your email, and go ahead and sign up. I've already signed up, so I'm going to skip this page and I'm going to go straight to login. And I'm going to log in. All right, so this is the interface. And like I said before in the last bit, one of the drawbacks of piSignage is the interface is a little cumbersome and it's not very intuitive. But this is it. For better or for worse, this is it. You can see we have one existing camera out there, which is called Lobby. And I could click into it and do some things there, but we'll go ahead and add this player to it first, and we'll set the new player up and you'll see kind of how that works. So I'm just going to click on register a player. It's going to ask me for a 16-digit code, and this is the code that I got off of the screen in the workbench where it's set up right now. And then I can assign it to a different group. So if I wanted to play the same stuff as the one that's in the lobby, I could assign it to that same group. But you know what? I don't want to set it to the default group. I'm going to set it to a group called NOC, which is for our network operations center, where it gets a little bit different information put to it. You can put in the different time zones, and I'm going to call this NOC 3. And player location. Okay. Okay, now you can see it is up there. And first things first, it does need an update. This little purple up arrow is notifying me that it's there's an update available. So I'm gonna go ahead and click that. And it's gonna say it's gonna go from 2.71, which is what we downloaded, to 2.8.6, which is the latest. We're gonna go okay. That's gonna take a minute or two. So we'll click back in here once we are done. If you click the little middle icon here, it will show you what it's looking like while it's doing it. So you can actually see the screen. So it will show you where it is. It's just basically an output of the screen. So if I click on the waiting room one, you can click on that and it will, click on the waiting room one, lobby one here. And you can see we do have that TV hung in portrait mode. So this is sideways, but this is what's displaying at the lobby. And so we're going to do something very similar to that for this one when we're done with it. So, all right, so we're back and it is updated to the latest version of the software. You see that the purple little up arrow has gone away, and this is our basic dashboard. So I'm going to click over here and go through basically the system as an overview. Like I said, the system is a little clunky. So the system itself, you don't get into it a lot, but kind of understanding the basics of it is the key to being able to use the system effectively. I don't really ever use the dashboard, but it'll kind of show you basically what you've got going on, what software version everyone's using, what groups you have, what locations you have, what playlists are playing. If you're managing 30 or 40 piSignage deployed out there, then maybe you need that to deploy that many units. For me, I'm usually just running 1 or 2 or 3 of them at any given time. So there is the 2 units again and the players. Then we have groups. Again, this is nice to be able to control the playlist and deploy them to certain groups. So if you've got 5 different waiting rooms at 5 different offices and you want to deploy to every waiting room at once, you could do that. Or if you've got, a NOC where you have 2 or 3 that are displaced the same things in different locations, like we have an Orlando office and we have the office here, we could deploy 2 things simultaneously, or 1 thing simultaneously to 2. Assets, think of assets as the things that you're going to play. We've got a couple of things loaded in here. You can add more assets at any given time. Those assets consist of mainly for us, it's JPEGs are what we're using here. But the other thing that we often use is full videos. So if you want to run a loop of YouTube videos think of it in like a waiting room at a doctor's office, where they may have 4 or 5 custom videos that they want to play on a loop. This is a really inexpensive way to have that set up, just to run video after video. They can add new videos, change videos, or tailor the content for the specific room. Or if they are running a special on something, they can run a video about that particular thing, whether in a dentist's office it's tooth whitening or something along those lines. But for the most part, we're using JPEG files, which you would just click on upload a file. You would grab the file from your computer and go ahead and upload that file. You can add a link. One other thing that's kind of a nice way to do this is you can do a web page that has certain information. So if you have a weather web page that will show you radar of the area, that's nice to loop through. If it's in if for certain offices, that's kind of nice to be able to see that kind of information. You certainly can put in a link to any web page and it'll display that web page on the monitor. You can also obviously loop through these assets. So if you want to, every 30 seconds for it to go from a welcome screen to another welcome screen, and then maybe the third time it goes through the weather or something like that, you can simply do that by adding a link. You just type what the link is going to be. This is also where you do the YouTube stuff. So if I wanted to do a one on let's just go to a thermal scanner. This is a video that we did a few weeks ago. I can just click on thermal scanner on my other screen here. I'm going to go and grab that. So I'm going to go to YouTube and grab that video, and we will paste it in here. And there you go. Now we have the one for the thermal scanner. Super easy to do, no big deal. I can drag these up around and move them around. I can change some properties on them. But for the most part, if you're just doing those kind of things, it's really, really simple to do. And on the big kicker for us is it's just the JPEGs. So we usually design all of the JPEGs that we're going to put up there in an external editor. We do it one of 2 ways. We either do it in Photoshop, which we are actually pretty good at content creating in Photoshop, which may be more advanced than most people want to do. And I'll show you real quickly how we do that. Or we'll do it out of PowerPoint, which is much easier to set up and do. But you could use any image editor. The real trump card there is being able to create output that is the exact dimensions of whatever you're displaying. So in the front, we're doing a sideways TV, or it's in portrait mode. So we do that content at 720 by 1280. And this one that I just launched is going to be it's going to be in a near normal landscape mode. So it's going to be 1280 by 720. You also would change those outputs to 920 by 1080 if you're doing 4K televisions or 4K output. Actually, this TV will be a 4K TV, but this will upsample it to the 4K TV. So you really can use that 1280 by 720 most of the time. Unless people are getting really close to the TV, you might want to make them bigger. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Really simple to do, but the better you are at designing the output, the prettier it looks on the TV. So when I say there is some level of being able to design or be a little bit more techie on this, we usually set our offices up with the basics of how to do it. If they're good at PowerPoint, they can make them pretty easily and just make a template and then move things around. Another great asset here is to be able to use a third-party company like a Fiverr or a 99 Designs. If you want really super professional things designed by a professional designer at a low cost, you can use one of those services, and they do a great job of making everything maybe themed like your corporate branding and everything, which is nice to be able to do. And then the last item that we really go into on a normal basis, on a daily basis, is playlists. And this is where you will go in and you'll add different assets to play in a loop or in a rotation. So I could add 3 or 4 things, and I can say how long it's going to play. I can add a ticker underneath it or on top of it, and I can do a lot of different things in here. So if I wanted to do a loop of the thermal scanner, the Ubiquity, and Tina here, I could go okay to that. Those 3 things are all been added. There's 2 YouTube videos in a static picture, and I go deploy, and I'm going to go to the knock because that's the group that we added the new Pi to. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go deploy, and it says it's been sent to the players, and you just dismiss this once that's done. And then if I go back up to players and I go to knock, oops, I don't need to click on it. And if I click on the little command prompt, it will go to it and it will take a snapshot of what it's doing. It's playing a video now, so it won't show me exactly what's going on there. But if I went back to here and I showed you on one that's got a static, it will show you the picture sideways. Let me go back and I'm going to redeploy that too so you can see that a little bit better. I'm going to redeploy this playlist without the two videos so you can see exactly what's going on the TV there a little bit easier. I'm going to go deploy, knock, deploy, dismiss, and I'll go back up to players there and give it a second to register that, and you should see Tina. And so this is typically what we do for our knock ones. This actually, we do our core values. We have 7 core values. We roll through them once a week. We all vote for who wins the core value. This week, Tina won the core value. So her picture will be up on the screen with have a healthy paranoia. That's our core value. Have a healthy paranoia about what you're doing. Have a plan. Identify ways to roll back changes, snapshots, backshots, backups, and save configurations, and test your work. So Tina won that this week, and so she'll stay up there all week. And what's nice about this is, this is a slide that we change once a week. We're able to really quickly be able to deploy these and make these. Using this, we actually use PowerPoint, and I'll show you really quickly how we make that. Bring PowerPoint over here. This is just PowerPoint of that particular slide, and I can come in here. If it's not, if it's Tina that's won it, I can just change whatever is going on here. If it's we basically have these where you can cut and paste in here. What's another one? Practice A+ with this, I would just go practice A+ with this and just type it in there. And if I wanted to change the image out, Tina's actually behind a little bit of a whatever you call that, a mask there. I would just cut her image out, paste the person that won it back in there, move the mask back up. Real simple, quick and easy. Our marketing person, Jessica, can do that in about 45 seconds. And then the trick here is it needs to be a JPEG. So we just click on File and we go Save a Copy. And then I'd save it to this PC and I would save it to my desktop. And you can see this, I call this one Tina Template. I could call it whatever there, but you just need to drop down from here and go to JPEG. And it will save that in a JPEG. And because it is PowerPoint, it's already saving it in that 720p aspect ratio. So quick and easy, save it, change it, and then just re-add that asset. If you keep it the same name, it really will it'll load right over in Raspberry Pi. I go back into assets here and I click add assets again, and I go upload files, and I find that Tina Template, click on it, it will just upload it with the same name, and it will just boom, automatically happen. Really quick, probably takes maybe 45 seconds to do that every week and get that up and running. Really easy to do. So if you have something that you're just changing a little bit, like it's a menu item, or you get a different doctor in the office, or you have a meeting and you just want to change who's sponsoring it, it's really quick and easy to do. We also do it in Photoshop. I would show you Photoshop, but it's pretty much the same thing. Photoshop is a little bit more complex, and it makes you be able to do a little bit better design. So if I was really designing a menu that had a lot of stuff on it, I would do it in Photoshop. I probably would actually send that out to Fiverr and have somebody design that for me with my logo and everything. But that's it in a nutshell. I know it's a little complex and a little bit overwhelming when you first see it, but I assure you it's pretty easy to do. And if you keep it simple, it really is a pretty graceful solution. I think the nice thing about it is if you design things well, it can look really, really professional. at no cost or a low cost if you have 3 or 4 of them. And a great way to do things. You know, we use a couple of other signage programs. We use what we call a matrix that has, it's a relatively expensive switcher that goes in the server closet and sends a bunch of different content to a bunch of different, from a bunch of different sources. Like, you know, you put old DVD players and computers and whatever on those and then design your content. Those tend to be pretty expensive. We also use stuff that's designed into a signage TV. So it's built from Samsung or LG or whatever as a signage TV, and it has software. Those have their inherent complexities and problems too. What I like the most about this is I have total control over the design process. And as long as I fit everything into a template and I understand how those templates work, it's really easy to come in here, add a machine, change stuff, and send it. The only real drawback in the software, as you can see, is you've got the players and the groups and the assets and the playlists. They start to get a little bit jumbly, and you're, oh, yeah, what's what, and how do I send it to here? And I got to deploy. You know, do I deploy from the group? Do I deploy from the asset? Do I deploy from the playlist? Once you use it a little bit, it's pretty easy. But the first couple times you look at it, it's a little bit daunting. The other thing about signage in general is we tend to come back to it after we haven't changed stuff for a while. So if you don't see this all the time, sometimes you go, how do I do this or how do I do that? But that's it pretty much for the software. I'm going to go ahead and send it back. I will unplug this from the test bench, and we will reassign Wi-Fi. Oh, and that's one last thing. Let me review that with you real quick. Okay, so here's the one last thing to set up the Wi-Fi so we don't have to run Cat5 cables to every location where we have a piSignage Raspberry Pi. All we have to do is type in the IP address that we got from the original sign-on screen that we got when we first booted up the machine. And we'll go to port 8000 on that. And that'll log us in. The first time you log in, I've logged into this one already. It is the password is Pi and Pi. And then you just click on settings in there, and you'll scroll down to Wi-Fi, and you just click on scan network. You'll choose the network, and you'll go put in the password, if I can remember it. And you'll go save. And then it should got you going. And so there you go. That's all you have to do for that. And now you can disconnect it from the workbench and put it behind the TV, and you're good to go. So that's it for the demo. Let's go back over the pros and cons of the system and decide whether it's the right signage program for you. Let's go over quickly the pros and cons of the system. Number one, obviously it's inexpensive. You can use it on any television, so that hardware is as inexpensive as possible. And Raspberry Pis themselves are really inexpensive hardware. They also lower the price of infrastructure because you can run them over Wi-Fi, which means no cabling to each television. Also, the licenses, you get 2 licenses for free. So if you're under 2 units, it's really as cheap as you can do it. If you're going to go beyond 2 units, I think the cloud-based software and the distribution over cloud-based software really makes it an easy system to maintain and deploy across your entire network. And the last thing that I really like about it is if you are able to control your media and understand how to use the system, the media control in it is really nice. You're able to use YouTube. You're able to put really high-quality JPEG images up to it. So if you're okay with designing some of your collateral, I think it's a really amazing system to use. Now over to the cons, and this is a short list, but there are some things to really consider here. First, the menu system is very cumbersome, so you are going to have some skill set to be able to use this on a daily basis. Number 2, setup. It is a little bit more technical, so it's not going to be like a TV system that has built-in signage where you just turn it on, fire up an app, and you're right in there. So there is some technical skills involved. Number 3, you do need some skill at modifying content. So for here in DPC, we use Photoshop. We all have Photoshop. We know how to use it. But using an image editor to get things exactly right, you are going to need some of that. It's not built in, canned into the system like they would be in some of the other proprietary signage systems. And last, it's just not a retail product. So there's a little lack of refinement here. For us, we put it in our clients, and we are the teachers. We are that line of showing people how to use it. And if they don't understand something, they can always pick up the phone and call us. So you won't have that level of support with this system. It pretty much is kind of one of the ones where you just gonna have to read the manual. There is good documentation online for it, but it is still cryptic, and it's not, I can't recommend this as a retail product. This is a product for somebody that has a little bit of a desire to do the do-it-yourself kind of technical project. And with that, I hope you found this video of value. If you did, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Also click the little bell icon to be notified when we make future content. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. If you'd like to engage with us to do any of this for your office, please call us at the number on the screen. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.